Hey guys, I'm just at the Trailhead for Mount Harvey here today. It's 7:30 a.m. on a Monday. Now, if it's your first time here, if you come on a weekday, there's usually parking immediately at the Trailhead if you're early enough. That being said, if it's fully booked with parking here, there's spots down the road and everything's paid parking around here. One thing I wanted to mention before you're starting this hike, in regards to water, there's no water sources on this trail unless you go way off the path, which is a big inconvenience. So I would suggest bringing a minimum of 3 liters per water. That seems to be my sweet spot. If you're going to the top of Mount Harvey and back, I would say a minimum of 3 liters. That being said, everybody's different, so just keep in mind there's no water sources immediately on the trail. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy. I'm gonna get going. The first few kilometers is basically all service road. Starts with a good steady uphill climb. At about 2.5 kilometers in, you get a nice stretch of flat, and it continues on for a little bit. Gives you a bit of a breather. Now you're gonna take your left turn here up in the woods, and it starts to get to a little bit more technical terrain, a little bit of a switchback action. There's some nice little handholds along this trek. Hey guys, I just wanted to mention regarding the water subject earlier, there is a water source. It's actually not that far off the trail. Just kind of reviving my memory from when I've last been here. But just after 3 kilometers, about 3.2 kilometers, you can take a little walk off the trail, maybe about 60, 70 feet down this hill, and there is a stream to fill up. So other than that, it's pretty scarce for water all the way up to the top. You're just hiking inland, you're not near any water sources. So here would be a perfect time to fill up. Hope that helps. Continuing on. For the next little bit of the trail, it just gets to some minor scrambling, a little bit more slow moving. So just after about 0.3 of a kilometer of a bit of scrambling, you get back into a really nice peaceful trail. It's really beautiful around this spot, and looks really nice when the sun's coming through on all the moss. Kind of hard to see, but I really enjoyed this part of the trail. It's just really peaceful. It's more quick moving. I'll also mention, make sure you bring bug spray on this trek. Most of the time they don't bug you till near the top, but they're definitely around. So you'll get to a part in the trail where there is 2 trail markers, and if you're powering through this terrain really fast, you'll easily miss the one on the left, but there's one in front of me, and if you look to the left, there is one over here. So you want to stick to the left towards Mount Harvey, otherwise you may go off that way and veer off for a bit. So when you're around the 4 kilometer mark, pay attention and take note to take a left, as it looks like you continue going right where you actually go left towards up to Mount Harvey. So at 4.5 kilometers in, you get your first big lookout spot, and you can see all of Howe Sound behind me. Perfect spot to have a snack, recharge for a moment, then keep going. There's definitely better sights ahead, but this is a really nice spot. You go through quite a bit of uphill climb for a little while here. Not too technical, but definitely a climb. So just about up at the ridge, and this is where the bugs start to get you. There's mosquitoes everywhere here. It's always around this point. They seem to be just swarming all over the place. So make sure you bring bug spray. I'm wearing a pretty heavy coat of bug spray. They're still trying to get at me, but we're almost at the first ridge and going to be some good sights ahead. Stay tuned. So we're at our first bit of snow, just about up at the ridge. Now, something I wanted to mention, the snow lasts till a lot later months in the summer, especially on the northwest spots. The snow sits for quite a long time. Now, what I've learned is if someone tells you you don't need microspikes, I'd advise maybe bringing them anyway. You know your own abilities, but a couple of years ago, for example, I was doing this hike. I brought microspikes, but on my way up, some guy had told me you don't need microspikes at all. And there's a lot of spots I encountered where I'm glad I had the microspikes. So sometimes it's best to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I just bring them for this hike. You know, as I said, snow lasts until a lot of the later months in the summer, and there's some spots where they really come in handy and for your safety. So I brought mine today. So I'm just here at the first ridge, and this is a great little spot. You can see the West Lion behind me in the background. I really like this spot. It's just beautiful. Definitely some great sights here. If you look behind me, you can see all of Howe Sound there, and it's just a great spot to stop. And Mount Harvey's maybe about 1 kilometer away. The nice thing about this hike is you got a lot of shade, so it's a little easier to cover ground than some other really exposed hikes. That being said, once we get out of the woods here, which goes for a little bit, you'll be getting some nice exposure and sun. So just got out of the more forest area, and the last half a kilometer is the more exposed part. It's basically a bit of climbing up rock from here. Pretty casual, but check out the view. You can start to see almost the full 360 of Howe Sound, and the views get better as you go. Or sorry, the full 360 of everything. But you can see almost a whole 180 of Howe Sound. Really nice. Getting to a little bit more snow here. These are some of the reasons you might want to consider microspikes. You can see people walk up without them, but you know, you can easily have a mechanical injury, and if you slip, you know, you can get hurt, and that could, you know, compromise your whole day. So just something to consider having them. Some of the spots I was telling you about on the northwest where there's snow that just sits mostly all year. Now, a lot of people just traverse across this, you know, with shoes, but I would honestly recommend having your microspikes. Always trust yourself, of course. You may not need them, but there's some spots coming up where there are cornices that sit mostly till later in summer. So stay off the edges and stay as far inland as you can if you want to get up safely. Now, what I usually do, I stay well away from the edge, well away from the snowbank where it tips over the edge, and I actually go cut in through the trees, and it's just a safer route, you know. Safety first, and sometimes these things may not look like a threat at first, but you know, it's easily possible to make a mistake, so use your own judgment. I haven't used microspikes yet, but I do have them and I may put them on. You can see Mount Harvey in the distance. And this is what I mean about the ledges here of snow. As best you can avoid them. You can now see a view of both lines, east and west. Hey guys, I just wanted to touch base quick on kind of what I was speaking about now. Today I haven't seen any cornices. However, it's just good to be cautious. It's kind of hard to see the depth, but there's a ledge, for example, right here. You know, if you can avoid walking close to that, it's a lot better of a safer route. Now, depending on the consistency of the snow, if you're walking over that bank, that could cave and you could fall down there and you know, could get potentially pretty badly injured or worse. So just something to keep in mind. Now it's starting to get to some scrambling. Nothing too bad. It's not very exposed. You can kind of stay well in the middle. So that's kind of nice. Some beautiful sights all around. I'll just give you a quick 360 and we're almost there. The last bit is a bit of an uphill scramble. There's some spots where you're semi-exposed. I always just like to take it really slow. And one thing to keep in mind is having 3 points of contact, whether that's 2 hands and a foot or 2 feet and a hand. It's not too bad, but just really take your time. So we finally made it just under 4 hours. I didn't push too fast to get to the top today. I wanted to stop and get some footage for you guys. So yeah, it's just beautiful up here. It took just 7 kilometers to get here. So it says 11 kilometers when you look it up online, but that's false. It's actually 14 kilometers up and down, but a beautiful spot. The scrambling's not too bad. There's only very minor spots where you're slightly exposed. Otherwise, it's pretty nice, beautiful. You can see mountain ridges as far as the eye can see. Just amazing. Give you a little bit more of a 360 here. You can see Mount Baker in the distance over there. This is amazing. So there's a spot on the way down. Now, if you're not careful, you can veer off to the left because it kind of looks like a trail. But you want to keep to the right, and it kind of leads to where that snowbank is. Because sometimes when we're rushing, especially if we're running, it's easy to make a misstep. And the left goes down to a spot that's pretty sketchy. So just remember your course on the way back down. And that snowbank is usually there almost all year. So just keep in line with that snowbank. Back to some more flat terrain, which is kind of nice. The scrambling bit's over with. On these ridges, I really like to take my time, and I just like to watch each step. I'm not going to actually do any running until the lower terrain. Just kind of powering through this at an easy, chilled out pace. I actually just ran into the second person on this trip coming up, and yeah, it's nice when you come on the weekdays. You really kind of have the place to yourself. Some of the snowbanks are unavoidable, but you can still keep as much of the tree line on your way down. So coming up is another example. You see this stretch over here? You can avoid that by taking a left and
you got this nice little path through here, which cuts off a bit of that snowbank. Just going through the last patch of snow. I haven't used crampons at all, but digging in, nice big steps with my heel helps from sliding. So the nice part about the last 3.5 kilometers is it's all downhill. You're out of the technical terrain, so it's all easy. A little slow moving coming back down the technical terrain though.